So at this stage, I have this block of Douglas fir, and what I'm going to start doing is get all sides of this plane down, especially since I don't know if I'm going to be able to carve this whole piece down as a single neck or set it into the body. I'm try to leave myself a few options and go ahead and just plane down every side. And what I'm going to be doing from there is measuring out the position for the fretboard, the nut, and the headstock, and the neck profile, and we'll work from there. Alright, so now we got this guy ready. We've got a few notes on what I want my top of the neck dimension to be. What I have to estimate where to place my neck is this old template that's a little chewed up. And first thing I need to do is shear up these edges over on the miter saw. And from there I'm going to determine where my center line is. I have the width of this measured in at 4.484 inches. And then we'll start working from there. I don't think I brought this up before. For the fingerboard, I did find this piece of Texas ebony that we're going to try to work on for this fretboard. This guy's a little chewed up, but does have nice grain pattern. In general, if I'm working from 36.25 inch scale, that means that I need to subtract the difference between my 5th fret on both my scale dimensions, which I have calculated on an Excel sheet over here on my monitor, so that I can keep that set to 0, and I'm going to offset my two positions from there. So in this case, that becomes 0.564 inches. Does not round to a nice even fraction. Alright, so got that guy measured in. So I think that's at least good. Now I just need to determine where my truss rod is going to be. So in terms of placement, I'm not really going to stress that very much. But what I am going to be stressing is really just the overall lengths and positions where I need to stop while cutting this groove. Alright, so got that marked out. And if you don't do this, I usually just leave notes on the board so I don't forget, like I'm prone to doing fairly frequently. Alright, so I've got my center line drawn. Now since I have a rough edge on this side of the ebony, I'm going to be trusting that my finished cut edges that I made are going to be good enough to kind of ferry me through this. I've got my straight edge jig pretty well set up. It looks like I'm dead on my center line. So I'm ready to start cutting out the groove for this truss rod. So what I have right now is a 1/4 inch bit and my plunge router. And what I'm going to do is set the depth to my maximum depth of that truss rod. So the depth, what I want to assure is that I have a few extra thousandths of space to account for any variations that I have in the cut. All right. So I have 11 thousandths of overall space there. And let's take it down to more like 3. Got it all measured out, everything's placed. I got that aluminum. At this stage, I'm about 10 thou over the width that I want there, and just about 20 on the head. So I will call that close enough. Or sorry, 100 thou down at the base. So we'll call that close enough. It'll probably sand down to a more reasonable width by the time I'm done anyway. So now what I need to do is rescribe my center line just in case it has shifted while I have easy geometry, and then cut in the taper for the base and nut of this fingerboard. I've got this guy laid up. I have my last fret noted. That way when I take this apart, I'll be able to discern heads and tails where I need to go. So, off camera, I went ahead and made this template earlier in the week. Just body style that I like from a previous build. So, you can see. Now this guy still doesn't fit. Alright, so this is the problem that I currently have. I made this template too early. The issue is this end up here shifts up to the neck too far, and it makes me short about 3/4 of an inch. So what's going to need to happen is I'm going to have to redraw my template, recut it, so that I can actually get the full length I want without it looking kind of obscure. Otherwise I have to shift it down, and it's not going to fit my now cut fretboard properly. And by doing that, it also looks like I am going to have to set in this neck to that body. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do it fully neck through and then clamp my body blanks onto here. It looks like I'm going to have to actually set that into this space. So, alright, so after a little bit of soul searching, I think I figured out what I could do without having to recut my template. So the problem, as it stands currently, is if I stay by only cutting 21 frets, I'm going to have this gap in order for me to have the total length that I need for this guitar, which end to end I'm seeing I need a minimum of about 37 and 3/4 of an inch. If I do a quick repair when I place this fretboard with the piece that I've already cut, then that means I can add 2 more frets, actually get down into the zone and take this all the way down to about 38 inches to the base, and I'll have to place this neck into a body that I cut. So in general, I think that's probably my fastest overall solution. Alright, so since I've got that figured out, what I'm going to now need to do is complete dimensioning the neck, and that will probably finish out where I'm going to be for the day. So in general, I need to lay out what my neck thicknesses are going to be along here. I'm going to need to determine where I'm going to need to cut this for the body and draw out the break angle for the head. With my other necks and heads, I've done about a 1/2 inch thickness on the head. So I know I'm going to want right about my first fret to be about 700 thousandths of overall thickness. I'm going to go ahead and mark that. And down where my body's going to connect, I know I'm going to want to increase about 100 thou from there. To there. So this is going to be exactly where my body meets. Alright. Now, usually or break angle, as far as I'm aware, you would go to 15, 18, degrees. So I'm going to see what I need to fit. This line here where the nut would start, at least at the highest point, follow along my neckline and give it that 15-degree break. Right there. So usually in this join line is where you may add some other dimension or support. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw this up a bit and might carve something in. To the back, or just sand it down and create a cusp at the top of the head.